starting now.
Okay. Hey, folks, it's great to be back again. This week, we have a wonderful discussion, a chat with our friend, Lori Oyansivu. And Lori is the CEO of Wekan, which is one of, I guess you call it the OGs of large-scale applications built on MeteorJS. Running today, it's been well over 10 years since that application has been built. It is used by many people, but will it stay on MeteorJS? It's a big question because for a very long time, it's been running on 2.14, and there are some concerns about the migration to 3.0. So we're going to talk to Lori today, and you're going to hear from him about the challenges that he's facing and whether or not this means it's the end of the line for MeteorJS and Wekan. And with that, I just want to point out that this is episode 106 of This Week in MeteorJS, a weekly newscast of the MeteorJS Dispatches podcast. My name is Alim Gafar. I'm streaming to you live from New York City.
And hello, everybody. My name is Dvorak, coming to you live from Prague.
And with that, I think we're going to get right to the news. We have a lot with Lori today, so we're going to keep it tight. Jan.
Oh, it's you, Alim.
Oh, no, I thought we were going straight to the Meteor news.
You want to jump straight to Meteors? Okay, let me jump to that. Just a moment. So Meteor news, it's very short this week. We have an update on the Meteor 3.4 development. Release candidate 1 is out. It's out for testing. So, go ahead and try it out. Give feedback. That's something that I will be kind of doing myself as soon as I have the time for that.
Sure.
So that's.
Is there anything significant about this, or is it just bug fixes?
It's all the stuff that has been done by Nacho when it comes to the new bundler, all that stuff. But now it also includes all the other community improvements and things that have been agreed that they will make it into this release, including some of mine, mostly cosmetic ones in my case. So it's kind of like, all together now, and kind of trying to figure out that, what is broken, what still needs to be fixed, and so on. But since it's release candidate, it should be ready kind of for testing, because if nothing is found, this is going to be the final version. So definitely now is the time to try things out, especially since this is quite a big update, as Nacho mentioned. If they weren't keeping backward compatibility, then this would definitely be like a major version upgrade. But they are still keeping, you don't actually have to do anything to upgrade, but you can take advantage of new capabilities. So definitely do that, because the new capabilities are going to be the default in the future, and the current setup will be kind of the fallback, or at least will be fallback for now. We'll see how things evolve in the future.
So there's a pretty big write-up about it in the Meteor forums. If you want more details, head over to the forums and take a look. Nacho spent a lot of time detailing the work that went into this.
Yeah, another news for Meteor is that Italo is looking into working or upgrading the tiny tests and experimenting with other options, including the native Node test runners, which made it back, I think, in a Node 20. I think they were the first kind of experimental, and now they've kind of become stable API. Which I think is really nice, that we have kind of the default standard node testing for Node itself, so we don't have to kind of have third-party libraries and all the mess that it presents. So Italo is looking into improving the testing story in Meteor, which I highly appreciate, and also will be kind of looking into that myself as well whenever I have time. But this is kind of more lower on my priorities list, because I just have so much on the top that goes into it. So definitely worth to check out. Tiny tests are not going anywhere, at least not for now. But I think this is a worthy replacement, or something that really will be coming in the future. And I still have 3 more news. First of all, a reminder that there's currently ongoing Galaxy's holiday saving plan, and I'm going to stay on Galaxy as well. There has been an email from Galaxy, so if you're hosting there, you check your emails. It's in the newsletter from Galaxy, and they are switching from AWS to their own Metal. So that's kind of following that, kind of hosting their own MongoDB extension, Redis, and now the entire thing is going to be on their own Metal. They're saying that the builds and deployments are up to 3 times faster.
Wow.
Which would kind of make sense. If you have your own Metal, then those things kind of you can adjust everything just for that and don't have to be kind of more generalistic like you have with AWS. Suppose they say enhance security and control, superior performance. Again, if you optimize for your own Metal for Meteor, then that's likely to happen. And it should have supposedly the same reliability as always. Go ahead, Alim.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what does this mean in terms of regional access?
So I'll get to that. Before that, I mentioned that they are going to be migrating to it. Currently, there are 3 zones: America, Europe, and Australia. The free apps will be migrated by December 15. Essential apps by December 31st, and professional apps by January 31st. So it's going to be this rolling migration. And I think what was kind of discussed, versus since they have kind of now there's their own Metal and everything, that they will be able to provide more regions cheaply, but they have not been mentioning anything like that in this email. So that's still a question mark. And also, for people like me, I already have MongoDB Atlas on AWS, so I want to stay on AWS. Otherwise, I would have to pay extra for the traffic that would now be kind of outside of the data center. So you have to email, Galaxy support to keep you on AWS, which is an option. So that's what's new with Galaxy. What's coming? Hopefully, we'll have more news and more questions answered. Because I'm kind of worried that if I stick on AWS, that I will be left behind, or not sure kind of what the future with that is going to be. So
yeah,
I have questions, and I'll be reaching out to the Galaxy team to figure out how things are going to be. And now the last point of the Meteor news is that the last talk video from Impact is out since Tuesday. It's pretty much the evolution of clinical Meteor since last time we've seen it. So I highly recommend checking that out. Actually, I should have. No, I sadly don't have the link here. My apologies. And next week is not really a talk, but it's kind of the closing where we had a little bit of a fun, because I had a little bit of fun kind of going with the Warhammer 40K aesthetics a little bit and their approach to technology.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. So that will be kind of the last thing coming out. I think we might still have to finish some more cleaning up over the holidays and kind of locate anything else that might have missed. But that's it for that's it for the Meteor news. If anything else, it will be in the Meteor forums, which is forums.meteor.com. So if anything comes up, you're sure to find it there. Yeah, Alim, any comments, questions?
No, I had mine before. I think this is I'm still mind blown a little bit about Galaxy going on its own metal. There are all sorts of questions I might have with regard to that, but I hope that for the team this is going to be a good move, and for all the people that want to use MeteorJS, hey, faster is faster, right? So give it a try. They're giving some awesome discounts at the end of the year. It's 30% off, and why not give it a try and see how it goes? It could only be better than what you've already got.
Awesome. And with that, I guess we'll go to the interview.
I think we should. So just well, I think there's an introduction to it. So there's nothing for me really to introduce here. But for those of you who are wondering whether or not Wekan is committed to MeteorJS, after all, it's one of the most significant projects that is on it. I think you'll find this interesting. So with that, why don't we just, as they say in America, roll the tape. Today, we're really fortunate to have with us Lori. Lori is the CEO of Wekan.
Just a moment. Apologies. Let me... Just a technical thing. Here we go.
Yeah. Can we make that full screen? Today, we're really fortunate to have with us Lori Oyansivu. Lori is the CEO of Wekan, which, as many of you know, is one of the oldest, longest running, and probably the best examples of a large-scale application running on MeteorJS. Without further ado, let's bring Lori into the discussion. And Lori, why don't you give us a little bit of background about who you are, what Wekan is, and who uses it and how it's used. Let's go from there.
Yes, Wekan was originally created by Maxime Guandalle from France. He did choose the Meteor web framework, and that was year 2016 when I continued my maintenance in Wekan, and the original creator did access to the original project, and I merged the changes back to original Wekan, but he did not participate later much. And currently, about 9 years since this happened, starting maintaining, and already before maintaining, I had translated Wekan to Finnish. So during these 9 years, I have added and removed over 4 million lines of code, and Wekan has been translated over to 70 languages. It is used at most countries of the world, and there are some customers that have over 30,000 users of Wekan, and I have participated to Meteor forums and issues and discussions, and added also many memes and kind of funny stuff there. Also, there was also podcast about Wekan and Meteor security and Raspberry Pi, and I'm also Meteor ambassador and been around. And some parts of Wekan, like some login, have been ported from RocketChat to Wekan, and there has been about 300 contributors to Wekan.
Wow, that's quite a bit. Is there still a lot of contributors working with me? Wekan?
Well, it is kind of hard to pronounce, but anyway, there are some, but there is very limited amount of pull requests currently. Some have added some REST API and some little changes, but it looks like the code base is not easily approachable. Many of those that have previously added some features have not continued, so I'm kind of the only one that has been in from the beginning, and those 300 contributors have code, and some do comment sometimes that is this still maintained and will it use Meteor web framework, or what will happen? And currently, Wekan is version 2.14, and there has been tried to upgrade it, and there is different issues with that. But anyway, for many years, there has been also help to upgrade to newer versions of Wekan. And so there is kind of little amount of contributors, and currently there is kind of mixed reactions to the new features. So some do like those and some do not.
So it seems that people end up contributing when they have something, when they have a need to. At least that's what it appears to be from your description so far.
Yes, there was also previously some try to use some bounties to pay for some contributors, but immediately after paying some bounty, the contributor disappeared. That was not so successful. It's mostly someone needs to be paid by their company or have some scratch. It's to scratch or something else in reason to contribute.
Yeah. So on a as needed basis, so to speak.
Yes.
So you were saying that Wekan is on Meteor 2.14.
Yes.
Okay. Is that the current production release of a Wekan right now?
Yes, and there has been many security fixes that have been added to recent versions.
Okay. And there's been a push over the last, I would say, 2 years now to MeteorJS 3. So are you going to be heading in that direction? Have you started on that? What's Weaken's future with MeteorJS?
I'm still trying, and there have been many tries. I have some prototypes, and I also have many other prototypes. It depends. Is there some new dependencies or some other help for that? Because, for example, the LDAP Node.js dependency is not maintained anymore, and also there is not the template language anymore. So there is only Blaze and React and so on. And also there are some other issues, like I would like to have a pessimistic UI that really shows when the data is saved, and some other issues that I have not been able to yet solve. But anyway, I very often follow the Meteor news and new versions, and I do develop all the prototypes and versions of Wekan all the time. So it is kind of every version is developed and nothing is stopped.
I get that. Yes. So are some of the what are the challenges? I mean, the big challenge I think to anyone that has a larger JS code base is transitioning from fibers to async await, and also losing some of the behavior that that was part of the fibers setup. Is that a challenge at all to you?
Well, I have tried, but the async await syntax is quite difficult to understand when comparing to some other programming languages. So, for example, when I tried to make some MongoDB query and base to that other query, so even at simple example, it was not simple actually. But some have upgraded to Meteor 3 successfully, like Rocket Chat and some others. So it kind of depends on the use case. But anyway, uh, I have been trying with some human help and with AI help and trying different ways, but there is kind of some missing pieces or not up-to-date pieces that make it challenging.
Well, I think it's kind of like a general statement of with the issue with the async await is, which kind of other people have also pointed out, is that it's like an infection. Once you have to have it in one function, everything pretty much that calls to that function needs also to be async. So that's pretty annoying, unless it's a function that you can just call and forget, which is rare, like a audit log addition or some logging things. So that's what makes these upgrades really challenging, because pretty much you have to turn your entire server from being synchronous, as we had it with fibers, into asynchronous. then that becomes an issue, especially with how Meteor code is kind of integrated across these layers in many cases as well. And especially with a big project like Wekan, that's the challenge. I think like even Rocket Chat had quite some trouble and a lot of manpower just to handle that. So I feel for Laurie with this because that's it. In these projects, it's a nightmarish thing.
So it's one of those things where the synchronous behavior is so woven through the application that if you're going to transfer your behaviors, it's really like trying to unstitch a thread through an entire fabric.
Exactly. It's pretty difficult, and sometimes the best solution is to just start fresh with Meteor 3 and bring things over one by one. That sometimes is the best solution.
I think it's with a small man team, and we're talking 4 million lines of code is what Laurie intimated before. It's a real challenge at that point to do it this way. Laurie?
Yes, and also if when there are many programming languages like there is JavaScript, CoffeeScript, TypeScript, and the different templating languages and all those mixed together, so there is kind of the with abstractions the problem with too many abstractions system. So
I didn't realize you were using so many JavaScript variations in Wekan.
Yes, there are many dependencies. So because it also can log in with password login, LDAP, Google login, and OAuth. I also developed Auth0 login, and there are very many ways to log in. That is one part, and then there is all those features like. There is so much different drag and drop, so it is actually when trying to fix something, there's something else breaks that I do know that some of the Wekan users have been frustrated of the many fixes when something else breaks, but anyway, it is because there is too much drag and drop. Right. Actually, what I'm first doing is removing all the JavaScript 10 megabytes of and then starting with only having source and target checkboxes and move buttons and so on, like arrow buttons to move. And then when that works, and it works in all browsers, then I add the additional JavaScript that does the drag drop. But it's kind of if there are too many programming languages, collapsing them down to just simplest code is better, because currently Wekan has about 60,000 files in the cheap bundle that can be run with only Node.js and MongoDB.
Yeah, this is, I think, kind of exemplary why I was so resistant to TypeScript for such a long time, because it's another tool, it's another thing, and what I've kind of learned even before Wekan, but in general, there's a lot of people like to come in and add their favorite thing, and that then is deprecated and something else replaces it. So I like to kind of keep things, and this would be my kind of recommendation for any project. Try to keep the number of dependencies as small as possible. Try to keep as close to the original, say, HTML and JavaScript as possible. And this is, I think, kind of maybe a sin of JavaScript that we had during, you could say, the boom of JavaScript, that there was just like, and even today, there's just like so many shiny tools that promise so much. And in that, I think we as developers tend to forget kind of the basic things, or the kind of lose the track of what are we actually trying to build for the application.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of my realignment as well.
So Laurie, one of the things that is really, really interesting about you and Wekan is the fact that you have spent a lot of time playing with the different possibilities of where Wekan can run and how it runs, and also the implementation languages too, correct?
Yes. So current Wekan can run.
What's the current production stack? And then tell us a little bit about the different flavors of it that you have.
Yes. So currently, Wekan can run at the different CPU types. So there is first the AMD 64, that Intel or AMD, and also there is the ARM 64. That is usually Raspberry Pi or Mac Silicon or some ARM server, and then there is the 390X. That is the mainframe IBM Z series, where is currently Ubuntu or Red Hat Linux, and Wekan also runs there, and there also previously was PowerPC version when there was available remotely with SSH, that data center, but they did close that down. So, and for then there is the operating system version. So first there is Linux, and then Windows and Mac, and
Wait, so let me ask you a question. So on all of these different chipsets and operating systems, it's running with MeteorJS?
yes, so it is Meteor 2.14, and it is using the Node.js and MongoDB for that CPU platform. And the porting to those different CPUs and operating system is mostly about installing Node.js and compiler and compiling fibers.
Oh, so you have to do a separate compilation process for each of those platforms?
Yes, so the fiber is kind of CPU specific, so I need to install that dependency and build it again. But of course, because Meteor 3 does not have fibers anymore, it maybe that is not needed anymore with Azure Await. But anyway, also there are some other dependencies that need to be reinstalled.
When you've had to do these compilations, have you had to make any changes to support these different chipsets?
So it is the same bundle that is first built at AMD Linux, and then that bundle is copied to the other platform or CPU computer, and then there is script that updates some of the dependencies, installs those again, and then makes the zip file again. Meteor applications can be run with only using Node.js or MongoDB, or then there is also the container platforms, for example, Docker, Snap, Sandstorm, and others. So the Wekan same code runs at all those platforms, and currently all the settings, or actually some of the settings, are at environment variables. So it is for Bash script or for Windows script that sets those variables. At Snap, it is some Bash script, and there are some Snap commands, like for example, snap set Wekan root URL is some URL.
Okay.
And for Docker, there is Docker compose file, and for Kubernetes, there is also a way to have those same environment variables, and then there is of course the Wekan web user interface and admin panel and so on.
I think it's amazing that you're able to get it to compile and run on, would you say OS 390 or OS 370? I forget which one, but it's the IBM mainframe operating system.
Yes, it originally started when I did listen Floss Weekly podcast about the mainframes, and then there was some web page where I could get access to the remote SSH access to the mainframe. There is a virtual machine that has 4 gigabytes of RAM disk and about 200 gigabytes of disk space, and I currently have 2 of those servers. So other one remotely accessible, so there is web interface to start and stop and reinstall those virtual machines and select the operating system like Ubuntu or Red Hat, or that was some other Linux slash or something. So and then SSH access to those. So because when porting, it is very useful to have access directly to some virtual machine at the actual hardware, because emulating some CPU is very slow usually, so it kind of makes compiling very slow.
It's wild. So to me, Jan, it seems that you give somebody some free resources or low-cost resources, and you say, you can use it if you could find a way to use it. Laurie's one of those guys that will find a way to use it.
Yes, and also there is blog post about that using porting Wekan to mainframes. It is also listed at the platforms at Wekan repo docs, and there is platforms and S390X.
I think if the Meteor software team hasn't already said so, they should probably be mentioning in their marketing material that that it's possible to run MeteorJS on a mainframe, and can point to Wekan for that. That would be great for this. But let me ask you a couple of other questions. One of the things that is true about the MeteorJS platform is it's an opinionated stack, and you have a variety of different front ends you can use. Right now, the reality is that the supported front end, so to speak, the official front end is React, has been Blaze in the past. And I would say that the emphasis that we see is usually on React, not so much on Blaze, although Blaze is still there. But there are other front ends. But for the most part, the back end has consistently been MongoDB for its reactivity or its use in the reactivity part of the entire stack. But you haven't stopped at just playing with MongoDB, have you? There's FerretDB has been one of the up and coming replacements for MongoDB.
Yes, so some do use Wekan with FerretDB, so there is documentation about that. The FerretDB version 1 was when they did have also have SQLite version, but it is still available at branch of that FerretDB repo. But then they did develop FerretDB version 2 where they used code for Microsoft Document DB that is open source to have a better support for MongoDB. So they leave that SQLite version to community to maintain if there is interest, because with FerretDB 2 and PostgreSQL there is support for bigger amount of features of MongoDB.
Yeah, I see on their website that they mention or they emphasize Postgres as the database backend that they're using to replicate MongoDB behavior. So are they not continuing any development support for SQLite? It's interesting to me that you mentioned SQLite, because SQLite is usually seen as a solo database, not really meant for distributed applications, although I've seen some articles written recently where it apparently has been used on distributed workloads. But I'm kind of curious about your thoughts with SQLite and why you mention it.
SQLite is what also runs at most computers. So there are many computers that have limited amount of RAM memory. For example, FreeDOS and Amiga and others, and those do run SQLite, and it kind of depends the scalability about how it is implemented and the concurrency, because currently Turso has made first they made a fork of SQLite, the C version with C, and try to improve it, but currently Turso is rewriting SQLite with Rust, and then they are using similar simulations for any kind of edge cases and crashes, like Tiger Beetle database, and Tiger Beetle database is financial database that is debit credit, so it is not SQL database. But anyway, Turso is developing that Rust version because they got to limits with contributions and improvements to the C version. But anyway, there are many different databases that are currently possibilities. Also, there is those databases that have a Git branch-like features for data, or for example, or or terminus DB. So the idea there is that, for example, if somebody would clone Wekan board, it would not spend time copying all the swim lanes and cards and attachments and so, but it would make like a new Git branch, so it would be immediately at new branch and all the changes go to the new branch. So it kind of make copying big amount of data immediately because there is only change in the branch.
So, what would your preference be in terms of the backend for Wekan?
It would be that kind of branch in a database, because while current Wekan, there is background process that can copy a lot of cards and so on and boards. There is duplicate board feature and so on, but that kind of branching would make the copying immediately, because sometimes some board can have thousands of cards, and that kind of copying load can also crash Wekan or get some overload. So usually people like speed.
So, do me a favor, because we've been talking about Wekan and sort of the abstract. We have a web page up here that shows, I guess it's the Wekan landing page when you first sign in, dashboard.
Yes, so this is all boards page of the newest Wekan, and there is new feature workspaces. So workspaces are a feature where it is possible to move some board to different workspace. This feature is, for example, at Trello and ClickUp, and here it is possible to add new workspace with plus button, and also add sub workspaces and rename them, and in the Wekan version, the remaining has all the boards, so those are remaining from not being moved to any workspace yet. So from there, so currently here is visible only started boards, and those can be drag drop to some workspace there. And this is the new Wekan user interface, where is new colorful icons. So previously Wekan was using the old font Avesome 4.7 version that has old code, and it was removed, saving a lot of loading time. So this current version uses Unicode emoji icons, so those are colorful, and the feedback from community has been that some would like to have the gray or black and white icons back, and some like the new user fees, but I kind of agree that the life could have some more color.
Okay, so for people that might be watching that are not familiar with Wekan or Trello or so on, there's some terms that you've used. You've used workspaces, you've used boards, you've used cards. Can you explain what those are and maybe demonstrate in each of these what they are?
Yes, so here I have opened the roadmap, and the newest Wekan has featured that it is possible to drag drop the width of cards, and also it is possible to drag drop the height of swim lanes. So currently maybe there is some bug because it goes through, but anyway, Wekan has very many features. So the idea in Kanban is that there is first these swim lanes. Here is green swim lanes. So when there is list like to do, doing, done, then the cards swim from left to right.
Okay.
Kanban was originally invented by Toyota that used just paper notes and a track, and they moved paper note to next list, but this is the computer version. There is very many versions of Kanban, and then when some list here
cards represent your task or feature or something that you're working on, right?
Yes, some task. So usually there is some date when some card has been received, and when the project starts, and when is the due date, and when is the end date. And there is also new Wekan features for selecting the date format, so it can be year first or date first or month first. There is also features like there can be assignee, that does the actual work, and there can be members of that board, but Async usually he is managing or doing the work, and there can be some that requested it. Then there is also voting feature, and then there is even planning poker. So this is not just playing some game at Kanban, but the idea is with planning poker that there is planning for or what feature is best to build first. So it is kind of productivity tool. Then there is description.
That planning poker is you're assigning a weight value to this thing. Is that
Yeah.
the idea?
Yes. So there is specific rules how to use that planning poker feature. So somebody sent pull request adding this feature to Wekan. Also there is description, so this is markdown formatting, and that is then rendered as HTML, and then there is markdown tables. Then there is also checklist and those checklist items, so it is possible to do some checklist what to do, and there is also drag drop for ordering these lists. So this is kind of a shopping list and work list. Then there is subtasks that it can have. Then there is attachments.
Are those subtasks links to other cards?
Then there is feature like linked cards.
Oh, it's a different thing.
Yeah, it's different thing. So link actually is the URL to some card. So URL has that board and card and address to that card. But link to card is different feature because, for example, if somebody makes some board that is dashboard, it is possible to link card from some other board to the dashboard board, and then have overview of the most important cards and have that kind of status of the whole project. So that is one of the features. And then there is comment feature and also reactions to comments like thumbs up and so on. So these are only some of the features. Then there is board settings and there is rules. So these are.
So the cards exist within a board.
Yes.
Okay.
So the order is like first is this board. It is like a board at school. Then there is this swim lanes. So this is green swim lane here and a red swim lane, and then here is list that has cards. One list card can be opened, and then there is card. So it is kind of all the substructures, and at that card can be more details of that specific task of that project. For example, swim lanes could be used that green is the team green swim lane that is doing some task related to that team's work, and there is different team, for example, marketing team that doing marketing and so on. So this is all for managing any kind of project. So it can be work project or home improvement project or shopping or any kind of. So this is general purpose tool for any purpose.
You can run your company with it and then build your Christmas shopping list activities with it also.
Yes, and it is very beneficial to use Kanban for that, because when compared to post-it notes that are on paper, when having those post-it notes at computer, there is shares function, so it can share that all big amount of post-it notes.
Is there a mobile version of Wekan?
Yes, just a moment. So there is a mobile version at Google Play Store and then at Microsoft Store. So this is for Windows Desktop, and then there is also version for Ubuntu Touch Open Store, and there is also info how to at iOS have that app icon added, so it works like an app.
Okay.
This is made with, of course, JavaScript, because JavaScript can have that drag and drop, and it also can use that with touchscreen. So touchscreens are of different sizes, from smartphone to tablet to big info screen and depending on screen size, Wekan uses user interface for that screen size. So there is also different kind of mobile user interface for that mobile small phone display. And also when working as mobile app, it is the JavaScript and HTML is compatible with browsers like iOS Safari and Chromium-based browsers like Chrome and Edge and Brave and Vivaldi and Opera and also Firefox and in general modern browsers. And these browsers are what makes apps possible. And how that app has been made is kind of different, depends on different platform specific, but in this case I use this kind of service. So there is pwbuilder.com. So there I add the Wekan URL like HTTPS, and this website makes possible to check there is Meteor public directory is the manifest, and there is possible to download packages for Android store and other stores. So this is kind of what is used. Maybe I did write that wrong, but and also for it kind of depends at each app store. But anyway, the general idea is that it uses full screen web browser. So for iOS it is Safari, and for Android it is Chrome, and for Ubuntu Open Store it is Morph browser. And Ubuntu version is just changing URL in just HTML code, so it is very simple to make application.
So we started talking a little bit about some of the issues facing the migration from MeteorJS 2 to MeteorJS 3. So I want to go back to that a little bit because I think we started but we didn't quite finish. So you want to talk us through some of that?
Yes, so there has been some feature requests from customers. So for example, when some use Kubernetes, currently Meteor requires sticky sessions, and that is kind of having too much load for one pod or a server. So they would like to have round robin for attachments and others. So it kind of it is a different kind of structures. For example, Wekan would be only REST API, and it could, with round robin, it could load the attachment from any of those servers or pods. And so that is one of the feature requests. And also at some internal networks, they do not like to have WebSockets because it bypasses the F5 monitoring postgate, and it is kind of bypassing those old security checks. And also, if using Wekan at Raspberry Pi, I have also tried some previous version of Wekan at Raspberry Pi 3 that has only 1 gigabyte of RAM memory. It does run, but it is very limited. Mostly the limit is uses much RAM, but also Node.js uses much RAM. So I try to find some other ways with some other programming languages that use less RAM.
Is there a commercial use case for running Wekan on Raspberry Pi?
Actually, commercial use case is first for home users. It is kind of the most available device, and then the at big factories and big companies there are very many Raspberry Pi computers. There was previously a time where there was very limited availability of Raspberry Pi for consumers because they concentrated to selling only to the business and factories and so on. So Raspberry Pi is used at very, very many places. And the benefit of the Raspberry Pi is that there is a highly stable operating system and many operating systems and very optimized software. So that is one of the use cases. And also currently the prices of RAM memory are rising very fast. RAM memory can be many €100 or dollars more expensive. This is because the AI companies are buying so much RAM memory and to run their AI models, and then there was some RAM memory company that stopped selling to consumers. They will sell only to AI companies. So the AI is making everything more expensive for everyone because prices of computers and RAM and so on are increasing.
Yeah, it's let's I kind of want to move us a little bit more
Sure.
to this, since we already started on this, to the higher view and also get some SEO points. There has been now 37 Signals company has released Physic, which is also a Kanban, could say Kanban SaaS, and they also have like a new OSASI license added to it, which is like an MIT license, except you cannot make a SaaS out of the code that is reserved only to the Korean. So, Laurie, have you heard about Fizzy, and what are your thoughts on these things?
Yes, so Visi has a very different user interface than Wekan, because traditional Kanban is like many swim lanes and so on. So they only have visible maybe two of the current lists, and there are this very different take on Kanban. But anyway, that Visi license is specifically directed also to MongoDB, because that Visi license is like a non-compete clause, so it is not possible to compete with Visi if you run it at your own server. It is similar like MongoDB SSPL, so that only MongoDB Atlas has part that database service, and DHH has very strong opinions about MongoDB like many other things, and I really love all the open source work that DHH has done with all the Ruby on Rails and all the web products and Omarchi and others. And actually, I do also have some Wekan prototype made with Ruby on Rails. But anyway, I do currently that Fiji uses SQLite database. So they did design that SQLite to handle more load and it did require many changes to the Ruby driver of SQLite, so it can handle concurrency. But anyway, with many different topics, I do agree with. Previously, Wekan had audit for standard for public code, and there was also noted in that audit that Wekan uses MongoDB, that is SSPL. Before SSPL, MongoDB use a GPL license, but then they changed to SSPL. It is kind of first be more open source and then having the restrictions. But anyway, there are very many versions of Kanban, so Wekan and Fisi are both better user interface and usability than Jira. So there are some videos about Fiji versus Jira. Jira has very many configuration options.
Yeah, I think almost everything these days has better usability than Jira. So like kind of looking at what you're saying is that it will be like a project that they are going to watch and maybe get inspired in some aspects. So with that said, what's next for Wekan?
So what everyone is waiting, of course, is the upgrades. Upgrading all the Wekan platforms to newest version of Wekan, and then there is also improving all versions of Wekan made with different web frameworks like Meteor 3 and other programming languages and web frameworks, or alternatively combining some parts of those to current Meteor 2 Wekan. But anyway, the user interface of Wekan will be similar like before because users of Wekan have liked it, but I don't know yet about the black and white gray icons because I do agree with DHH that also made that Fiji more colorful, that life needs more color. Now of computers and houses and cars and so on has gone too much black and white and gray, and life really needs more color.
I think that that's very interesting take, and has been something that I have been going back and forward with my designer for the universe as well, because he's now proposing kind of, we started at the, you could say, flat icons that everybody else was using as well, and now he's proposing, you know, more colorful and say fun icons. So it's kind of interesting hearing also from you that that's the same thing you are having discussions on. So at least on that front, things seems to be changing.
Yes, some years ago there was issue to Wekan to add rounded corners to Wekan cards. So that was the fashion then many years ago. And now the fashion has kind of changed because Apple has changed to liquid glass. So it is that is also another kind of forms. But now everything is like glass or shiny or like a colorful toy or something at a children playground. So that is also some critique about the new design. Apple added those beta versions of iOS 26 and Mac OS. The beta versions were very slow because those animation effects take so much more resources and were not optimized. So it is kind of that liquid glass is new versions of Windows Vista like design, or alternatively the old Mac OS version were more of the glass design. So also those Mac icons have changed and the design style more to be more lifelike. So camera icon looks like more real camera. Also Microsoft have changed their Microsoft Office icons to be more colorful, and all the videos like Microsoft have similar with that Windows 11, that they need to be shiny and rounded and more colorful, and it is kind of now that we are all children again.
Yeah, that's seems we agree a lot more on this than I actually thought. So that's fun. But given we cannot kind of now track all the changes that happen in the design, it kind of makes me feel super old. So Alim, I think it's time for you to take us finish this up so that I don't feel too much conscious about my age.
No, listen, I think, look, there's a rule that when everybody is zigging, you zag, right? If you want to stand out. And I think the liquid glass thing is just another, we're not seeing a lot of innovation elsewhere, so we're going to see some innovation in design, if you want to call it innovation. But what it is, I think, is just a way to stand out from the crowd a little more and sort of say, hey, we're different. And Apple's philosophy has always been, we're different, right? So how do you demonstrate you're different? You can either produce a better experience in terms of features that you produce, or you screw with the way people interact with the product. And I have not yet updated my iPhone. My wife has updated hers. We have the same iPhone, and she is like very frustrated with liquid glass. So I have not updated mine yet, even though I might have some security issues that I'm holding on to. But hey, I mean, changing, the world keeps moving, and we have to move with it, or we get left behind. So having said that, Laurie, it's been a delight to have you here again. You're still committed to MeteorJS as the platform for Wekan?
Current version of Wekan is still Meteor 2, so any kind of version needs to first have same features, because Wekan is what those features are. Wekan have specific UI, and so current version is Meteor 2, and there will be other versions like Meteor 3 or some other platforms, but all is developed together, and it's not in any way that I'm leaving out some platform.
You run a business, you have to be practical, and you are facing some challenges in terms of doing the migration over to 3. I was curious to know whether or not you feel that you'll be committed to staying with Meteor, or if there is another path for staying on the latest version of Node, if that is something that you'd explore.
There is also path with only Node, because that is JavaScript in general is what only runs on some platforms like Cloudflare Workers and some others. Actually, there was some recent rewrite of some code where they did a rewrite from Rust to JavaScript, and the JavaScript version was much faster and smaller and easier to use, because there was not all the round trips between the programming languages.
Okay. Now, what excites you about new tech options for Wekan? Do you want to talk about them before we close this out?
Actually, yes. So there are new options for Wekan, because if I make some new prototype, there is possible to lower my hosting cost, like CPU and RAM usage, for example, if I use different database. And also I'm migrating my internal use chat from Rocket Chat to my own chat, and there is kind of a lot of changes that will use less resources at the server. Then I'm also developing exporting card to Excel, and also there will be user interface fixes for all screen sizes, because the newest, some of the user interface elements are too big or too small, or at some screen sizes. And also there is, I have been experimenting with Interact.js, where I have a prototype where it is possible to drag multiple cards at once. So for example, I can have 4 fingers and one for each card, and drag them all at once. It is kind of nice prototypes, so that, and also that is what could bring independent position or some other canvas or Ravi-like features. So that is one of the possibilities, because first I'm kind of making collapsing all to minimal version, and then first having the no JavaScript version that works at browsers like Amiga eBrowse or NetSurf, and then adding additional JavaScript that can add those drag drop or other features, but everything would anyway work with all browsers.
It'd be interesting to see it.
Yes.
I can see myself, if dragging with multiple fingers, making huge mistakes at that point.
Well, the biggest amount of bugs is the drag drop, dragging and dropping to wrong place.
Yeah.
Then if somebody does many drag drop and immediately closes the browser, then it loses all the changes, because it has not yet saved. It shows immediately at browser, but it has not yet saved to the back end. So there needs to be a kind of different user experience, that everything is saved immediately, or there is some spinner showing that it is saved, because some of the current bugs are also that making some change is not saved immediately. People reload web browser or close browser, and it's like they expect everything happen immediately. If there is 10 megabytes of JavaScript, it takes some time for web browser to run that massive amount of code. So it is also one of the bugs in the translation. When translations come with JavaScript, it takes some time for that translation code to run. So there is kind of many things that could be improved.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for spending this time with us. Yeah, this has been great. Jan, is there anything you want to add before we close this out?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Take care now. Bye.
Bye.
And we are back. So that was the interview. I do believe that it will be available standalone as well, correct?
Yeah.
So, and Anything else you want to add, Alim, here?
No, just wish everybody a good weekend. All right. So you guys take care. See you next time.
Right. Thank you.